I have something I'd very much like to share with you. What I'm holding in my hand is a Canadian Army helmet from World War II. Along with other brave men and women, my uncle served valiantly. He served in Dieppe, in the raid on Dieppe, and he came home with a piece of shrapnel in his leg. For the remainder of his life on this planet, he limped and hobbled around as a remnant or some sort of a souvenir of his experience in Dieppe fighting against Germany, against tyranny, against fascism. His entire remainder of his life. That was his sacrifice. Other brave men and women did not have that good fortune, shall we say, even though it wasn't very fortunate at all. They were much less fortunate in that they never came home. They sacrificed their very lives to preserve freedom, to preserve democracy, to preserve civil discourse, to preserve respect amongst politicians and amongst people. It served a lot of purposes, those sacrifices that those brave young men and women had actually done. They were enormous sacrifices. I look at the United States of America now, and I see a country that is exceptionally troubled. My experience with YouTube is that if you express your opinion on YouTube, there will be MAGA heads that will be spewing derogatory comments, disrespectful slurs that are untrue at times. And I have to ask myself a question. Is this exemplary of what the MAGA world is? Because I'll tell you what, they don't even hesitate to throw derogatory barbs at somebody, to belittle them, because they have an opinion that is different than the opinion that they have. That is a sign that America is in deep trouble. America is a constitutional republic that was founded on democratic principles. And discourse, respectful discourse, is what helped to make America great. Had nothing to do with the guy in a blue suit and a red tie and a white shirt that was hugging the flag that would routinely spew falsehoods. The latest of which surrounding the riots, or the protests, should I say, because I think it's more of a protest than a riot. You know, this guy is saying that had I not called in the National Guard and had I not called in the Marines, Los Angeles would be burned to the ground. Here's what the reality is. The reality is that those people, if they, and for the most part, from what I can see, they are, if they are exercising their democratic right to protest peacefully. And again, That's what they were doing from the start. Yeah, there were a couple little incidents along the way. There were a couple of bumps in the road. But from what I could see, there was absolutely no reason why Donald Trump should have pulled rank on Gavin Newsom and said, okay, we're bringing in the Marines, we're bringing in the National Guard. Even to the point where Gavin Newsom said, no, we don't want this, this will be escalatory. We want peaceful protest. He asked people several times on social media to keep it civil and to be respectful and to protest peacefully. He also went so far as to say to Donald Trump that what you are doing is you are escalating. Okay? Gavin Newsom is correct. Because at the time that this video is being prepared, the protests are spreading to many, many other cities inside of the United States. Chicago, Philadelphia, San Diego, San Francisco. Okay? Things are intensifying. It's not because people are protesting the removal of illegal immigrants inside the country. It's because of the modus operandi of Donald Trump. Sending ICE agents out in an exceedingly cowardly fashion with masks on, not showing their badge, showing up and uprooting children inside a school. That's unconscionable. This is fascist. This is fascism at its finest. Now, some of you MAGA heads who will be watching this will come out in the comment section, right on cue, and they'll say something really dumb, like you're a communist. You don't know what a communist is. There are people fighting in this world, on this planet, who have protested vehemently, day in and day out, in places like Georgia. Georgia understands fascism. They understand communism. They understand that if we allow this to happen, Vladimir Putin will have full reign over our country, and we do not want it. Because those people understand what communism is. They're not people that live in the heart of the United States and pretending that they live in a free world. They understand the avails of fascism. They understand the avails of communism. Most MAGA heads can't tell the difference between socialism and a social program. That's how far things have degraded. And they have no presence of mind at any time to understand the level of propaganda that has been instilled into their minds by a certain cable news network and other right-wing controlled media. They willingly strap themselves in front of the TV every night from 6:30 to 9:30 or 10:30 or 11 o'clock and listen to the propaganda. It's not a news organization. It never was a news organization. It's there to infiltrate your mind and make money with the spectacle that they put on. Are people that naive that they can't even figure that part out? There was a YouTuber at once upon a time who was famous for his rants, and he'd be pounding his desks and he'd be screaming. And then he somehow proposed that a mass shooting was all a hoax and was staged. And there are people inside the United States that even after that happened, they still didn't wake up. Now, why am I so impassioned? I'm not angry. I'm not like that guy I was just telling you about. But I am impassioned. Because our freedoms were bought and paid for with a price. It's nothing that's owed to us. People had to actually fight for it, and people, they had to die for it in some cases. Arlington National Cemetery, respectfully, is full of those people who died for their country. Those very same people are turning over in their graves to watch these MAGA enablers who are begging for fascism to take full root. Once you let the toothpaste out of the tube, you can't get it back inside. The United States of America is at a tipping point. The people, if they rise up peacefully, non-violently, and are resolute and stand up and say, yeah, you can deport people if they're in the country illegally, but you have to use proper due process. Under the Biden administration, 3.3 million people were removed and deported. Sorry, that was Obama. Under Biden, 4.4 million people were deported. There was no chest pounding. There was no look at me moments from the president. They went ahead and did the business that they had to do quietly and resolutely. And if Mr. Trump thinks that that's not good enough, then go about the business quietly, civilly, do it while fully engaging due process. But don't send your bullies out into communities making a spectacle. Okay? Because people who fought for freedom know better. Prior to World War II in Germany, there was a percentage of the population who understood what was happening. And there was another percentage of people who understood it but turned a blind eye to it. And then, once the tipping point occurred, you could not get the toothpaste back into the tube. They had crossed the point of no return. America needs due process. America needs to have fair adjudication of people as immigrants. And again, I'm not sticking up for people who are illegal. If they are there totally illegally, and they've been flying underneath the radar, yes, they should have a due process hearing. And if the judge says, yes, they should be deported, then off they go. But not what Donald Trump is doing. Because if America allows Donald Trump to get away with what he's doing, every single person, whether you're a civilian or not, can be uprooted on a moment's notice, taken out of your job, taken out of your home, taken out of the country, off to a place like El Salvador, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it because you enabled him. I think I've said enough. That was a bit of a rant. I apologize. But one thing about me, immature people can get in the comments and call me a communist and all kinds of malarkey. But at the core of this being, humanity and people are important. They're not just there so that people can, run a car over them backwards and forwards and get away with whatever they want. People are important. I hope I've inspired some thought, and that's my impassioned plea, is stick up for the rights of people. Don't fall into the trap. Just because Donald Trump says something, you're just going to go, yeah, that's right. If he told you to jump in a lake, are you going to jump in the lake? Of course not. The lesson learned is don't take everything at face value just because he says it. He said he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. It's well beyond 24 days. We're getting into multi-month now. And he's proven himself ineffective. So when he says these things, and you know what? It's just noise. That's all it is noise. Okay? And people, perhaps the most naive of which, are going to gravitate towards him and say, oh, he's strong. Okay? No, he's not. He's not strong. Those protests are starting to intensify now all over the country. Okay? I'm going to leave you with a story. I had a personal friend, God bless him, he's not with us anymore. And the young lady that lived next door used to call quite frequently, and she'd say, can I borrow a cup of sugar? Can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? And, my friend had a great heart. He had a good heart for people. And the answer was always, you need a cup of sugar? Yeah, come on over. She comes over one evening for a cup of sugar. And she said, well, my new boyfriend, he's this and he's that, and he's no good. He's rotten, right? And my friend started to take stock. He says, every time she comes over for something, she got a new boyfriend. And he's no good, and he's rotten, and And this is what he said to her. Listen, I don't want you to take offense. But in all of these very, very bad relationships that you have, there's one common denominator. And she said, what's that? You. During the Biden administration, there was 4 years of relative stability and peace. During Trump's first term, I remember vividly the George Floyd protests where Donald Trump said, we should probably release vicious attack dogs on the people. you ingrate. People matter. You're not the only one that matters. As a matter of fact, it's far from it. Hardworking, innocent people who make an honest day's wage and haven't floated on daddy's pocketbook your whole life and grifted your way into success and used the office that you hold to pad your personal pocket, and further to pad the pockets of the billionaires while you're cutting 15 million people off of Medicaid. It's disgusting. And people who support that are not supporters. They're enablers. And that's on their shoulders. I gotta go. You have a great night.